Hi, so I know I literally just published a video, but I kind of forgot about the Met Gala. Like, I was like, oh, it's in May. Hello, pandemic. So just so you know, I'm making this video like literally hours after the gala, so like all of the Met Gala backstage videos where people explain the inspiration, the who and what inspired the outfit, it's all not out yet. So like, if you're watching this video a couple of days later and I misinterpret something completely, that's because of that, because I'm just going by the initial reactions and the photos that I see. So let's do it again, because it was fun. Let's try and find historical inspiration in the Met Gala outfits. I must say, the outfits this year were kind of interesting. Like, I didn't expect myself to be like that impressed, because usually the theme is super interesting and then the outcome is super boring. Like, only a couple of celebrities are willing to actually experiment. And like this year, I feel like the theme itself was a bit boring, but like the outcome was kind of interesting. So as always, I'll be focusing on women's fashion. And this year it's not because men's fashion is boring, surprisingly. It was actually quite... something was going on there. Like, people were really getting into it. But mostly because I cannot really pinpoint men's outfits to any historical eras. Like, men's fashion used to be pretty conservative up until this point, so like whatever they come up with, it probably was not there before. I'm just ignoring men's fashion completely in this video. We're focusing on the gowns. So as always, any celebrity gala, any celebrity event, there is usually a couple of trends, and historically wise, it's usually 1950s, like, not gonna lie. Most of the red carpet dresses since like forever are 1950s inspired because it's effective, it's classy, you cannot go wrong with it. So like, majority of the outfits this year were still like silhouette wise, pattern wise, we're still strongly 1950s inspired. So like, a lot of the outfits are 1950s. Some of the outfits are 1930s inspired, but less than usual. Usually there is a lot of gowns that could actually be fashionable back in 1930s. This time, not really. Except for some cases. Well, we'll get to that later. So let's start off with Rihanna. It's funny because I saw this outfit and I was like, okay, if I had to pinpoint a historical era, that would be like 1950s Balenciaga. And then it turned out it is Balenciaga. So like, it only confirms my point that I made a few videos back about how famous fashion houses are sort of continuously tributing to the original designer. Even though I must say, like, Balenciaga is pretty experimental, so they're not really hung up on that idea, but this particular outfit, like, just the volume of it, the draping, it screams Balenciaga, and it screams 1950s Balenciaga to me. Carrie Mulligan was one of the people that chose straight up 1950s fashion, except maybe for the structure of the bodice, but like the volume, the little shawl, even the bangs, it screams very strongly 1950s. Normani's outfit, again, strong 1950s vibes when it comes to the silhouette. The bodice, not so much, but the huge sleeves, again, it's got a little bit of that Balenciaga spice going on. Gigi Hadid's dress, something about the bodice reminded me of those like 3D 1950s bodices, where you had like two bodices basically. One would be tight and then the top one would be sort of away from the bust. Doesn't make any sense. So it was a very popular couture thing to like do that in 1950s. Again, Eilish is one of those people that just straight up went to 1950s and is not even sorry about it. Like, even her hairstyle is like heavily 1950s inspired. I'm yet to see the front of the dress. Oh, that's very nice, okay. Down to the shawl, it's just very consistent with the 1950s inspired style that she's been going for recently. Hailey Bieber's dress could definitely work in 1950s, like maybe with a little bit of more structure in terms of the bust and the waist. Like, overall, it could easily work in 1950s. Another outfit which reminded me of 1950s a little bit, but not in a conventional way, was India Moore's outfit. And I'll tell you why. Because the sleeves remind me very much of those like coats and capes, evening coats and capes of the 1950s, and also the shorts with sort of half skirts. And it's something that appeared quite commonly this year. Long skirt in the back and like shorts in front. That's something that reminds me very much of 1940s, 1950s play suits. Something that you would wear at the beach. So basically it was like half skirts and then you had shorts underneath, which is like quite functional, pretty cool. Now, when I heard about the theme of this year's Met Gala, I was like, the first thing I thought about when I heard American fashion was Clara McCardle? I don't know. Because she definitely established the American style in like late 40s, early 50s and marketed it to the working classes. So she wasn't one of those high fashion designers. She was just doing the ready to wear stuff, sportswear. There has been a couple of, oh, I just kicked the camera. There has been a couple of outfits that I think might have been Claire McCardle, never mind, inspired, or maybe it accidentally looked like that, but first one was Kristen. Her dress was definitely something that Claire might have designed. It was simple, the fabric was simple, it looked comfy, and it had pockets. I mean, another one that reminded me of Claire of her designs was Chloe Feynman, and again it was simple. I think it also had pockets and the color palette was kind of toned down. And then you had Tracy Ellis. I'm struggling with American names so much today. Tracy Ellis Ross's outfit was sort of, it kind of looked like a giant shirt or a kimono or a coat, and that again is something I think, maybe it's a bit oversized, but it's definitely something similar to Claire's designs. Like you take a comfy item and you make it a little bit more elegant, but it still remains comfy, and it looks like something you might want to wear either to Met Gala or at home. It doesn't matter, it fits both. Okay, Regina King, I'm so confused because I vividly remember tuxedo inspired dresses in like 30s or late 40s, and for the life of me I cannot find them. Like I just cannot find this inspiration, because when I type in tuxedo dresses it just shows me like what sort of a dress to wear when a guy is wearing a tuxedo. Like that's not what I'm looking for, baby. But believe me, like it is there somewhere. Margaret Qualley, it's just the overall look with the lace and everything being white and her dark hair. It just looked a little bit Edwardian to me, like maybe, I don't know. Okay, another inspiration that I think several people, well, I don't think they're directly inspired by that particular person, but it just had this vibe, was Mae West. I mentioned Mae West in my Tall Vampire Lady video. She was an actress popular in 1930s and she also wore pretty cool stuff. So Zoe Kravitz's dress and Kendall Jenner's dress to me emulated those like Mae West vibes of the see-through dress with like sparkly things on top. And then Kendall's dress also gave off Hedy Lamarr vibes to me. And like surprisingly, a lot of the dresses this year had this sort of vibe. Which like I get it, she was an American actress, but at the same time, she's not like the most American you can think of. Another person that gave off Hedy Lamarr vibes was Iman Hammam. Anok Yai and Emily Blunt had a Hedy Lamarr inspired headpiece, I think. Erykah Badu had an animal bag, which was something that was very popular in like 40s and 50s. I know it's kind of a reach. Precious Lee's jacket was very similar in structure to the famous Dior Bard jacket, just the structure of the hips. I think one of the most historical outfits of this year's gala was Ariana Debose outfit, because like not only the hair was on point for a 1920s flapper, but also the dress obviously bore the same inspiration as well. I have not read anything about that particular outfit yet, but I'm guessing she was paying homage to like the Harlem culture of the 1920s. Kristen Stewart's outfit is again not super historical, but you may have noticed 1940s bangs on her. Debbie Harris' outfit, I just noticed a crinoline and I had to include it, and also a 1950s hairstyle. Also, a crinoline appeared in Iman's outfit. Kim Petras, I know, it does not look like anything you've ever seen in history for a reason, but hear me out. The volume on the sides is very similar to like the 1920s Rob the Style, and then Rob the Style was also inspired by 18th century, so like we have something going on here, don't we? Speaking of 1920s, Barbie Ferreira was kind of like a 1920s showgirl, especially with the thin eyebrows. And then Maisie Williams, which I personally felt she looked so cool. She gave off like the makeup, gave off the 1920s silent film movie star vibes. Maybe not the mainstream Hollywood one, but like she could definitely star in like a 1920s German expressionist film, and like the director would not even notice. He would just think she's part of the set. Dan Levy's outfit, there is something about the map print that reminds me of the 1940s clothing that was made of a World War II map. During the World War II, maps for the soldiers were printed on silk because it was easy to like wrap it up. Logistically, it just made sense. So then when the war was over and they had all those maps, they were like, okay, what we're gonna do with it? Obviously, there were like fabric shortages at the time, so people just started making clothing out of it. So like they would make lingerie and blouses out of maps. And that's something that this particular outfit reminded me of, though it's probably not intentional. Rachel Smith's dress, it could work really well for the 1930s because we have a lot of like tulle, we have the puffy sleeves, and like even the silhouette, I think it could work. Like I've seen a lot of similar dresses from 1930s. And then Caroline B. Maloney's outfit is pretty obviously inspired by the suffragettes of the early 20th century. The color palette they used, white, green, violet, is very similar to this. It's not really reminiscent of like 1900s and 1910s. It's just like taking one element of that and like putting that into a modern outfit. I think that's all I have to say. I don't think I've noticed anything else that sort of shines through, but if you have noticed anything else, or if you have different interpretations of this year's Met Gala outfit, please let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching and see ya!